Good morning. It is Sunday morning, January 20th, 2019. This is my first live YouTube broadcast, and I hope that will join me today. It is a rainy day in Oregon, and I'm been struggling with our internet. I live out here in the country, and so it's a little bit difficult to manage the internet. I'm going to wait just a few minutes. It's just now 11 o'clock. Hopefully my internet will be all right and things will get better. As I said, we have this funky internet out here in the country. It's line of sight. And so the internet connection's a little bit sketchy at times. I'm going to be talking today about the ego, the soul, the spirit, and who we really are. I'm waiting just a couple more minutes to see if anybody checks in. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about as well is how our brain works and how our brain functions, and what many people call the monkey brain. And I kind of liken the brain to a computer, and often that we have operator errors when it comes to computers. So anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully people will pop in, and as I continue to talk. Of course, remember, there is a like and subscribe button down at the bottom. Please like and subscribe. I'm up to 10 subscribers, so that's really cool. Since I haven't really even done anything yet, so that's good. My name is Suzanne Esch with Blue Rose Divine Healing. I started this YouTube channel really looking to bring a little wisdom about what I've learned about spirituality and how it relates to health, and how that affects our health, how that affects our mental, emotional body. So I'll just go ahead and get right started. So one of the first things I want to talk about is our brain and what our brain is all about. I liken it to a computer, and that computer takes instructions. It takes instructions from us. And so when we say things to ourselves, like, for example, here's a great example. My husband, anytime one of our kids gets sick, he says, "Oh, every time so-and-so gets sick, one of our sons, I get sick." And sure enough, his brain, as soon as one of the kids gets sick, his brain goes, "Yes, I can do that. I can do that. I can bring you that illness. I can bring you that cold." And boom, there it is. And well, you can see what happens after that. He gets very sick. Now, I grew up in a very Germanic family, and we were first generation. My parents came from Austria, and the Germanic people are very strong-willed, and don't show emotion in public, and getting sick is a huge sign of weakness. So in our family, getting sick was not okay. It was like, nope, not going to do it. So I tend to not get sick when everyone else gets sick. But just recently, I had a really terrible cold right after, actually started the day after Christmas. And I had to sit down and really think about what happened there, what went wrong, and from an energetic and emotional, mental body. And without going into a long story, I really kind of identified that I was, a lot of wounded child stuff came up for me. Things like feeling unwanted, unloved. And it was it ended up being a real misunderstanding. There's absolutely no reason for me to feel that way. But it was just stuff that had come up for me, and sure enough, I got really sick, and then a bunch of lack of sleep when we went down to California, and that just all sort of snowballed, and I ended up being sick for quite a while before it finally cleared out. The other thing I think I was doing it too is I was holding a grudge. My cold was almost completely gone, and next thing you know, I'm thought, oh, I'm over it, I'm done, it's gone. And all of a sudden the next day, boom, it came right back. Well, I had identified what had gone wrong. I identified that it was this wounded child that came up, but then I realized, and it was actually something I saw on Facebook, it was about essential oils and about a friend of mine, Julie, she posted about essential oils and some essential oils to help with forgiveness and holding grudges and things like that. And I looked at it and went, holy crap, that's exactly what I was doing. I was holding a grudge. So I had to let go of that. My cold is finally better, a little bit of sniffles, but by far so much better than it was before. So let's dive right into what the ego is all about. So the ego, there are three things that make up us as humans: the ego, the soul, and the spirit. Two of those are not really who we are. So let's talk about the ego. So the ego is made up of three things. It's developed from birth on. It's made up from the environment that we grew up in. It's made up of, in the environment, it includes family, friends, some of the toxic chemicals that are in our environment, your geographic location. All of those affect the environment that we grow up in. The next part is the events and experiences that we've gone through in this lifetime. And a lot of this information comes from Brett Jones. He wrote a wonderful book called Awaken. And so he talks about those three elements that make us up: the ego, the soul, and the spirit. But he doesn't really talk about how our ego, I believe, is also formed in past lives. And we carry some of those wounds from past lives as well. So I think that also makes up our events and experiences, the things, the traumas that we've been through. If you were bullied in school, or if you were, oh, I see, I have a viewer, yay. Awesome. So those experiences that we have in childhood, our childhood traumas, if you were bullied in school, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about bullying because this came up as well when I did an interview with it's Explaining Esoterica with Kelly Farmer and Stacy. She was co-hosting as well. And so that was really a cool experience. And if you want to check out Explaining Esoterica, Kelly has some great people that are on, people like Jason Quid, and she did one just recently. I can't remember the guy's name, but she did it on Friday, and I need to catch up and check that out. She does a great job. I really love her a lot. But so events and experiences that make up our ego and those traumas that we have. And then the second part is the culture that we grew up in. Of course, when we grow up, if we grew up in Africa or India, they have a very different culture than we have here. And those also affect the ego. So the three things again. Hi, Pat. Pat just sent me a smiley face. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyway, the three things again: the events and experiences that we've gone through, our environment, so friends, family, toxic chemicals, geography, and the culture that we grew up in. So those are the three things that make up our ego. Now, the other thing that makes up who we are in the grand scheme of things, because it's ego, soul, and spirit, is our soul. So our soul travels with us throughout lifetimes. It goes through lifetime to lifetime. We have traumas in those lifetimes, karma that we need to work on, things that we've experienced. They come forward and affect us in this lifetime as well. And then there is spirit. Spirit is our direct connection to source, creator. It's if you picture, the way I picture it is, if source or creator, and it doesn't really matter what you call it, you can call it the Christ consciousness, you can call it the Marys, you can call it Mickey Mouse, for all I care. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's all the same thing. But if you imagine just the huge, huge white light and just strings and connections coming down, each of us having that spark of divinity, having that spark of source up there. And so we can imagine that we're all part of this one big, huge, great consciousness. So back to who we are. So if the ego is made up of the events and experiences in this lifetime, the family we grew up in, our environment that we grew up in, and also our, oh, Kelly, hi, Kelly. I see us explaining esoteric is here. Awesome, exciting. So hopefully my internet is better today. I kind of kicked everybody out, off the internet so that this would work. Hopefully it's working better. So those three things making up the ego are the family we grew up in, our environment, our culture that we grew up in, and then the events and experiences in our lifetime. Those things are not who we are. Our soul, which travels through lifetime to lifetime, often. Pat Free said that's working good. I'm awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. Our our spirit and our connection to source, that is who we truly are. So I want to talk a little bit more about the ego, because the ego is such an important thing. And we have within the ego, it really is, and I'm going to try not to swear, but once in a while it might pop out. And here comes one. Our ego, because it's made up of all those experiences in our lifetime, it's really a lying sack of dog doo-doo. Look, I didn't swear. But, so let me give you an example of how our ego lies to us. Okay, so let's say as a kid, somebody hands you a lollipop, or maybe it was cotton candy. I've never eaten cotton candy. It looks disgusting. I guess you guys, maybe other people eat cotton candy. I find it gross. But let's say you ate a lot of lollipops or a lot of cotton candy, and maybe it was pink cotton candy, right? And you ate a whole bunch of it. And of course, what happened as a little kid? You threw up. So now you're in your 20s, right? Your 30s, and someone comes along with green cotton candy and wants you to try some green cotton candy. Well, you're immediately going to have a visceral reaction to that cotton candy, because you remember as a kid, you threw up because you ate too much of it, and now you have this visceral reaction to it. Well, it's kind of the same way when we interact with people. If we have experienced bullying, for example, as a kid, I was bullied a lot as a kid. I was teased. I was really shy. I never stood up for myself. And so I have a real visceral reaction now when someone comes along and tries to be a bully. And you can almost compensate in an overreaction. And I'm going to give you an example of this overreaction. This is a story that's probably not one of my finest moments, but I'm going to share it nonetheless because I think it's a really good illustration. So this was in my 20s, and I was in a bar, go figure, and it was a place where I knew a lot of people, and everybody who came there were friends, and they all hung out together. You could go there on a Monday night and go in by yourself, and a bunch of your friends would come in, and it was a great place to hang out. Well, there was this one gentleman that used to come in, and he had a old English sheepdog, and at this particular time, it was wintertime. He used to take his dog for a walk, stop by in the bar, have a quick drink, and go back onto his walk. So this old English sheepdog, you can imagine, they're bred for being able to handle the cold. And this particular day, this other gal came into the bar, and she wasn't a regular there. And, this sheepdog was outside. My friend was just, down the bar having a drink. And she just went off about how horrible it was that he was making this dog sit out in the cold and blah, 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 blah. And she just kind of went off. And I said, he comes here for a drink and it's fine. He's got lots of fur and he handles the cold much better than we do and blah, blah, blah. And she just went off on me and she got all bent out of shape. And next thing you know, she's challenging me to fight, like a fist fight, right? Now, if anybody who's met me knows me, I'm really kind of tiny and skinny, and I really have no business fighting. And I think back then I didn't even break 100 pounds. I mean, maybe soaking wet. And with all my clothes on and a heavy coat. Maybe I broke 100 pounds. So I had really no business fighting. So I was just like really cocky and was like, yeah, I'm not going to take this bullying shit. And you talking bad about my friend. And I don't even think he realized this was all going down because he was outside the bar. And I said, sure, let's go outside. Let's take it outside. Off we go. And the place was pretty crowded, right? So we go outside and she's got her fists up. I've got my fists up. We're ready to tussle. And then she says, you know, I don't really want to fight. And I said, okay, fine. I dropped my hands. And lo and behold, she sucker punches me, right? So, and it wasn't really a very good hit. I mean, I had a bloody nose, but it wasn't that bad. But I came down. I didn't get knocked off my feet, but I went down kind of squatting on the ground. And I just, all that childhood angst of being bullied and people pushing me around and being mean to me, it all came up, bubbling up. And I just came down from the ground and I just punched her a good one. But apparently someone actually saw her days later and she had one of those things over her nose. I guess I broke her nose, but not my finest moment. But you can see in that situation, oh, by the way, she got kicked out and told never to come back. And because I was a regular there. And so they kind of took care of me and, you know, sided with me. But anyway, but I really ought to have handled that differently. That was not the time to get into a battle and into a fist fight. And I really kind of overcompensated for all of the bullying that I'd had as a child. And so you can see how we can kind of go and swing the other way. So when we look at the ego and we look at how that ego really lies to us, and, you know, there's a big movement in sort of the New Age and light worker community to kind of go, you know, we really need to get rid of the ego. The ego is no good. It's problematic. And really, you know, the ego's job is a very important one. It's to protect you. It takes care of our flight or fight instinct. As you can see, I went to the fight instinct in that story. But also in, you know, in our reactions to people, and the ego wants to live. It wants to survive. It wants to protect you physically, emotionally, mentally, but it can give you the wrong signals because it's based on all those experiences, those events that you had in your lifetime, and all of those negative experiences. And it governs a lot of how we react in life. And really, in that story about this fight, I really should have taken a step back and said, you know what? It's not even my business. It's not my dog. And if she wants to go off, great, go for it. And I should have just walked away. But I let that wounded child govern my actions. So now, in the lightworker community, in the New Age community, we talk about getting rid of the ego. It's bad for you. It steers you in the wrong direction. But here's something that I just recently learned. I'm also a Reiki master as well as being a shamanic practitioner. And one of the things in a recent webinar that I did, they talk about the ego and the positive role of the ego. And that the ego is really here to help us. And its purpose is to bring divine spiritual knowledge into our 3D earth plane. So if we talk about the ego as a wounded ego, and all of us have a wounded ego, we've all been through experiences and we all have traumas. It was my wounded ego that brought that fist up and decided I was going to punch this girl back after she sucker punched me, and that was going to fight for, you know, my friend who I know takes really good care of his dog. So, you know, it was not giving me divine knowledge, obviously. But if we look at the positive aspects of the ego and bringing that higher spiritual consciousness into this lifetime and really healing that wounded ego, because that's what we need to do, is to heal that wounded ego. And then a healed ego, those healed parts of ourselves, can then start to have some true positive interactions with people, can really start helping other people and really being in oneness with others. So if we go back to the soul, so the soul, as it follows us through lifetime to lifetime, is also very wounded. And so it's also really important to recognize those wounds. Karma comes into play. If we came here with a specific divine purpose or to heal karma that we've accumulated from a previous lifetime, and even positive experiences in a previous life can have an effect on this lifetime. And I'll give you an example of that. I was working with a lady, and I was just really going to be doing a brief Reiki session with her, so I didn't have a lot of time to work with her. But as I was talking to her before I started the session, we talked about doing how past lives influence this lifetime. So we decided instead that we would do a past life journey. So in that past life journey, and this is something else that I've really learned in my practice, both in Reiki and shamanic practices, that it's really important. Hi, Jason, just popped in. It's really important that when we look at our past, that we look when we are working on healings. And I want to really clarify, I don't consider myself a healer. I consider myself someone who facilitates the healing within you. That we not have an expectation of that outcome. I'm also a retired nurse, and so that transition from nursing to more esoteric work really taught me to be more open and to not have an expectation. As a nurse, you come into a room and you know exactly what you're going to do. You've got a certain plan, you've got medications to give or whatever is going on. But I really am learning not to have expectations. So when I started doing this past life journey with this lady, I was looking for a lifetime that was traumatic, because it's usually those traumatic lifetimes that really affect us in this lifetime. And we truly could not find a traumatic lifetime. What we found instead was this idyllic life where she lived as a man. She was married, had a wonderful wife, beautiful daughter, lived to a ripe old age, and just had this very positive life. You know, and I kind of expected we'd do some rewriting of whatever contract she'd made from a past life. And that wasn't really where it went. What happened, and I started talking to her, I said, what's this life been like? What have your relationships with men been like? She goes, oh my gosh, horrible. Very overbearing, not really abusive, but unsupportive father, a couple of failed marriages. And so what was going on in this lifetime is that she was looking for that idyllic relationship. She was looking for that idyllic relationship with another man, and she wasn't finding it. And looking for love, probably, like, not to be cliche, but looking for love in all the wrong places. And she now had breast cancer. And breast cancer is all about heart, the heart chakra. And so heart chakra is what was really affecting her, because she was looking for that idyllic life. She was looking for that idyllic relationship. And that she ended up making many wrong choices looking for that. And so that was a great realization for her. So back to spirit. So again, the soul is not who we are. The soul is simply a part of us that's traveling from lifetime to lifetime, and we carry those wounds. And we also, to expand on that, we carry those wounds on an ancestral basis as well. So from our ancestry, you know, we come here with soul families, and we travel with those soul families from lifetime to lifetime. So science would have us believe that we got breast cancer or lung cancer or colon cancer or MS or whatever it is we've gotten disease-wise, would have us believe that it's all in the DNA. And I really strongly believe that it's much deeper than just DNA. I don't think we even know. We know a lot about DNA, but we're always learning more. And I think we've just barely scratched the surface. But I think more importantly, we carry some of those ancestral wounds. my family was really strongly Catholic, and so we probably carry, and it's gone back many, many generations and many, many lifetimes. We probably carry some of those Catholic wounds with us. It could be that, you had all the female women in your line had died or were murdered horribly, and it's gone from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, and all the way through the generations. So in shamanic work, what we do is we go back to those ancestral lineages, and we pull forward that lineage, that original ancestral wound. We heal that wound in that person, and then that comes through in all of the lineages down through your children and grandchildren and all of those things. So that's really an important piece. So again, the ego is not you. The soul is not you. You are spirit. What is spirit? Again, it's that part that we are all part of this one creation, and we're all part of this one amazing source, creator, the Christ consciousness, whatever, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want to call it. And so we are all one in this lifetime, and we're all connected. And I think that's a really important concept to understand, because we're seeing a lot of disunity right now. We're seeing a lot of divisiveness in our society, and that divisiveness that's coming out externally is also a sign that internally we are conflicted. Internally we are out of balance. Internally we have lost our connection to that oneness, into that source. And the way we the way we need to live our lives is really, in a sense, paying forward I think I wrote this down somewhere, paying forward that connection to source energetically. You talk about paying it forward in term, you'll be at a drive-through getting coffee, and you'll have someone in front of you will be paying for your coffee, and then we talk about paying forward, but really we pay for energetically as well. So one of the important things, because we are all one consciousness and we all come from one source, and I'm talking all of us on this earth plane, could be aliens in another galaxy, it could be Pleiadians or the Sirians or whoever it might be, for those of us who are into the alien and UFO world as well. We're all coming from the same place. And so when we heal ourselves, it's just like when you walk into a room and everybody's Debbie Downer and you come in all smiles and positive, you can really influence that group and change that mindset of that group. And conversely, you might be in a group of people and everybody's happy and wonderful and it's great and everybody's really connecting, and in comes Debbie Downer, and Debbie Downer can just, and I think it's even easier for Debbie Downer to bring down an entire room than it is for a person who is very positive and outgoing and loving life. And I think it's even more difficult for you as that light person to inspire that room. But boy, Debbie Downer can bring it down in a flipping heartbeat. Just so fast. And so it's really important to be that light and that love, and to really let that shine through and let that be something that we can share. And when you heal yourself, you heal energetically, you heal those around you, especially healing yourself really, and especially your soul family. All of a sudden your soul family, or the family that's in your home that you're interacting with on a daily basis, they see that change as well, and they're like, you know what, I'd like a little piece of that joy and that happiness and that inspiration. So if anybody has any questions, by all means, I'm looking at the screen here, so if you have any questions, by all means pop in, and and ask those questions. I want to give a few shout outs to people. First off, Holly Marie. She is with Earth Song Healings, and I just finished my shamanic medicine wheel training with her. She's up in the Portland area in Oregon, and she does just amazing work. And let me say a few things about shamanic work and how it's different from Reiki, which is what I first learned about 4 years ago. Reiki is a much more passive energy healing. And although I often was not so passive, I often meditated with people and took them on journeys and did all kinds of, I'd have them breathe in a certain color, or I'd have them do, if I felt that heart chakra was an issue, I'd have them breathe in the color green, which is the heart chakra color, and just bring that light in themselves. But the other thing is, but it's generally very passive. You spend about 45 minutes to an hour with a patient, and you're just bringing in that energy light and that energy healing through the body, through your body, and through your hands to your client or whoever's on that table, or if they're just sitting down eating. Shamanic work is a little different. Shamanic work really, and I always felt like, until I met Holly, and I always felt like there was something else that I needed, to add to my toolkit of healing modalities. And shamanic work actually gets pretty deep, and it gets very dark. People talk about how dark shamanic work is, and the first direction that Holly teaches is in the south with Sachamama, or the serpent. And the serpent is all about confronting all those childhood wounds, confronting that inner wounds that you had growing up. And for me, I think that was the most difficult direction for me, because I went dark and I went deep. And so, yeah, it can get kind of ugly. And, it's hard work. It's not something that, you have a shamanic session and you're great and you'll never have a problem again. And I can tell you from working with patients as a nurse, I frequently have seen, in fact, I saw someone doing Reiki with them at the hospital. I volunteer at a local hospital and on their oncology unit. And this lady was on her 4th stroke, literally her 4th stroke. And we talked a lot about, in fact, through the whole Reiki session, we talked a lot. In fact, she had a really difficult time speaking because now it had affected the throat chakra. And so to me, that was like, what is it that you're saying or thinking that you need to change or correct, and make a little course correction? Is there something there? And she was just like, oh yeah, I've said some things I probably shouldn't have said. Definitely. Not only that, but her sisters also were having stroke issues, and there was a lot of conflict between those sisters. And so they were all kind of suffering this familial ancestral piece. And if we had gone back into previous lifetimes, this is before I did any shamanic work, we probably would have found that that had come through several lineages, that there were some issues in that regard. And so that was a real eye-opener for her. And I kind of liken it to any illness or disease, or even if you get hit by a car by a drunk driver or something. I don't think any of those things are accidents at all. I think that they are spirit, maybe your own higher self, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, there's something you need to look at. And that spirit will tap you on the shoulder pretty lightly the first few times, and each time it's going to get a little rougher until boom, now you've got the big stroke. You can't even speak because spirit's got a message for you, whether it's your higher self you want to consider it, whether it's the archangels, whether it's God or the Christ consciousness. Spirit has a message for you. And if you don't listen to that message, it's going to come through bigger and louder every time. So it's really important to listen to those messages that Spirit brings you. So if anybody has any questions, a couple of other shout outs I want to do. First off, I don't know if Kelly was here, but Explaining Esoterica, big shout out. She's got a great show. She does them on Mondays and Fridays at 7:30 at Pacific time. And I've got a few shows I need to catch up on. She did one on Friday. I can't remember the guy's name. I know he plays guitar, or I think he might have been at that Fade or Not party that we were at as well. So I need to catch up and I need to watch that. They also do Esoterica Street. And I believe it was Esoterica Street on Saturday that she does in conjunction with Jimmy Pearson with Fascination Street. And, Jimmy Pearson and Sarah, if you guys watch, hi, love you guys. And Mika, oh my God, you got to watch Mika. Mika's adorable. I don't know how old Mika is, but he's just a cool kid, very cool kid. Lovely family. They're in Dover, England, I believe. And so he's looking to launch his radio career. So I'm really excited to watch that. And then Eric Stitt, that is an Stitt, with Art of Eric Stitt. He is doing some amazing artwork. Oh, yes, it was C.W. Chander on Friday, Esoterica Street. Oh, yesterday was Kevin Estrada. Okay, was he the guitar player? I think he was the guitar player. Yeah. Anyways, 2 shows I've got to catch up with. So, Eric Stitt. So he's from Colorado. He does the most amazing artwork. And not only is he crazy good, but he has this. That was one of my kids decides to pop in. I could have anticipated that, Andrew. He loves to scare the crap out of me and sneak up on me. So thanks, Andrew. I don't even know what I was talking about. Yes, Eric Stitt. He does the most amazing artwork. He does UFO stuff and aliens, and it's totally crazy. Lisa, hey, Lisa. Yes, happy Eclipse Day. Yes. Is it today? I know it's also a full moon something or other. Yeah, I know. Kids, right? Gotta love them. I have to tell you, I have learned so much more about myself having children. I would never have learned and most of it's not good, I have to say. Sorry. You kind of look at your kids and go, where'd they get that from? Oh, crap. Yeah. So, tonight, 9 Pacific time? Awesome. I won't be able to see it. It's cloudy and rainy here in Oregon. Maybe we'll get like a little opening in the clouds so we can see that. Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Anyway, so back to Eric Stitt. He's doing amazing artwork. He's doing some logo work for me that I have to tell you, I'm crazy blown away. He's been showing me the work in progress. You can find it on my Facebook, which is Blue Rose Divine Healing. And you can find it on my Twitter, which is at SussieQ5, SUSSIQ5. You'll find it there. It's just amazing. And the amazing thing was I told him I would talk to him on the phone. I'd never talked to him before on the phone. I've known him for a while, and we've chatted online and stuff. But I was telling him about this out-of-body experience I had about 4 years ago, and how I had looked down at my ethereal body, and it was this amazing color, this amazing blue color. And I didn't really go into detail about what kind of blue. And if you know anything about artwork or painting, there's a million hues of blue and different shades and tints and everything. And I'll tell you what, intuitively, he caught that color spot on. That color that's right around my head. I don't know, maybe Explaining Esoterica can post a picture of it here, but it was of what it looks like so far. But it was spot on. I was just, I literally got chills. So that was really, really cool. The next shout out I want to do is to Stacy Herrig, and she's going to have a new show called Space News with Stacy. So you'll want to go to her YouTube and she's just so delightful. I love Stacy, and so that's going to be very, very cool. So the next thing I want to do is go into the meditation, and I want to make sure that nobody has any questions. If you've got any questions before that, if you don't have questions, I'll just go ahead and lead a meditation. Hopefully my internet is still good. And I just before I did this, I opened Sacred Space here in my sunroom, and I don't know, I could take my camera here and kind of point around to where, oh, look at that. A new camera that my husband had. Look at my hydroponics. Those are potatoes. I'm growing potatoes inside. Over there somewhere is this big, huge tomato plant, and it's growing really well. And then over here, I brought my crystal grid downstairs. It used to be upstairs, and my cat kept rearranging my crystal grid. So, in fact, my cat came to visit. She's sitting here on the floor. So if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the meditation. So one of the things I want to do is talk a little bit about some tips and tricks when it comes to meditation. I think meditation is really individual. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for someone else. But if we go back to talking about our brains and how our brains function, and that our brain is a computer and it goes on patterns. So establishing a pattern for your meditation, same place, same time, same music, whether it's a guided one, those things all kind of help your brain kind of get ready for meditation and lets your brain know, hey, it's time. So I'm going to just hop up and shut the door to this room, hoping that nobody comes in and scares me during the meditation. So 1 second while I shut the door. All right, door is shut. That doesn't really mean that I'm going to hang in there, but hopefully I still have sound because I unplugged myself. And I'm not going to do music because that might not work so well. So I want everybody just to kind of relax, get into a comfortable position. If everyone is ready, we're just going to take some deep breaths. And so while we take those deep breaths, I want you to take a deep breath in for the count of 4. Hold that breath. When we hold our breath, it connects us to spirit. And I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to try not to sneeze. That would be loud. So, okay. Not going to sneeze. Okay. So just getting relaxed and just listening to the sound of my voice. And with each breath, you're going to get more and more relaxed. So taking a deep breath in for 4. Inhaling. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Let that breath out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more breath in. 1, 2, 3. And hold. 2, 3. And let that breath back out. 2, 3. I just want you to focus on your breathing, taking nice, gentle breaths. And if thoughts come, just sweep them aside and bring that attention back to your heart center and back to your breath. Just relaxing more and more as we find ourselves in a beautiful garden. We feel the green, soft grass beneath your feet, the smell of spring in the air, a nice warm sunshine, bringing healing light, bringing you sun, bringing warmth to your skin, bringing a calming warmth. As you look around the garden, all your favorite flowers are there, scenting the air with roses, lilacs, all in bloom, different colors, just for you in this special garden. And as we look toward the back of the garden, you'll find a path leading out of your garden. And this is a garden you can come to anytime you want to relax and meditate. So as we move along the path, you notice the sun shining on the trees, the gentle breeze, the sound of birds in the air, and a stream in the distance, bubbling gently. And you're just walking along that path, following it through the wooded area behind the garden. As you move through that wooded area, knowing the trees and the sounds and the smells, just follow that path along till eventually you come out at a wide meadow. And in that meadow is the tall grass, some wildflowers gently moving with the warm breeze on your skin. And there's another path through that meadow. Just follow that along. Just noting all the sights and the smells, the trees in the distance. And off to your left is a hill. And you decide, yes, that's where I need to go. Following that path to the hill, it starts to wind up and up the hill. Just gently follow that path around the hill, winding along the path, noting the rocks and the crystals along the way, your feet gently moving along. No stress, just a nice gentle walk up the path. As you get to the top of the hill, you look down on the meadow below you. And in the distance, you notice the white peaks, the snow-covered peaks of the mountains, the forest in the valley, and the blue of that sky, just sparkling and glistening as you see that sun just shining through, just making everything bright. You turn around, and behind you is this huge pink quartz crystal, big as a house. And you wonder how you missed that when you came to the top of the hill. As you walk towards that crystal, a slight vibration can be felt all throughout your body. It gets stronger and stronger as you move through back toward that crystal. Just keep moving forward till you come to the outside of that crystal. As you place your hands on the crystal, it vibrates beneath your hands with a warm, soothing sensation that goes all through your body. And as you move your hands along that crystal, suddenly your hands gently move through that crystal, and you realize that you can walk right through to the inside of that crystal. When you get inside that crystal, you notice how beautiful it is inside. Oh, it's just amazing. There are crystals of jewel-like quality lining the walls and sparkling and twinkling. And the whole inside of that crystal seems like it's making its own light, like the phosphorescent light. It's warm and sparkling, and you know you've come to the perfect place just for you. As you move inside the crystal and into the center, you realize there's a fountain in the middle of the crystal with water coming in from the sides of the crystal and gently flowing into that pool of water. Approaching that pool of water, the mist, the cool mist from that fountain starts to envelop you, tingling all through your body. Go ahead and put your hands in that water and use that healing water coming from that crystal to bring it all over your body. And yes, it's safe to take a drink from that as well. From the healing waters inside that healing crystal. Right next to the fountain is a green, mossy area. Go ahead and sit down and make yourself comfortable. As you make yourself comfortable there, I want you to focus on some of the chakras that come up for you through life. So I want you to focus on letting go of all those childhood wounds and allowing spirit to heal you. And just take a minute. So taking time to let those healing light coming from the top of the crystal, clearing out all those wounds, helping you let go. So whatever that might be, those childhood wounds that you had, remember that those do not serve you anymore. These are not things that you need in your universe any longer. And I want you to look deep within, and whether it was that you were unloved, unsupported, or whether or not you felt disrespected, whatever that wound was, allow Source to help you let go of that. And then I want you to think about what you want to replace that with. Whether it's community, friendship, love, support. That is what I want you to bring forward. So I want you to allow that light, that healing light, and it's a golden, sparkly light coming directly from Source, to fill you with that love, that support, that respect, crystal. So coming back out of the crystal, as you look around, everything looks brighter and more vibrant. The blues are bluer, the sky so clear, rays of the sun shining down on the meadows below and on the mountains in the distance. Everything just looks clear and vibrant. So walking back the way you came, down through the crystal, or down through the path of the hill, following it back down to the meadow. There's an extra spring in your step, just a lightness, almost like you're floating along. Coming back along the path at the bottom of the hill, through the meadow, the greens even seem more vibrant. Everything just seems brighter. You have a new outlook on your path and on what you need to do. So as you move along, back, even the birds sound more cheerful as they serenade you on your way back to your garden, back to your special place. So moving along that path, back through, and you can hear that creek. A cheerful tingling and bubbling follows you back. So you get back to your garden, all the flowers in bloom, the soft grass beneath your feet. And just take a moment to breathe in all the smells in your garden. The sweet smells of the roses and the lilacs. The beautiful vibrant colors, the reds, the yellows, the purples. Some fiery orange in the roses, tall tiger lilies. So just take a couple of deep breaths, bringing your awareness back to your physical body, coming back out of that beautiful place, knowing you can always come back, stretching and opening your eyes. Take just a second to do that. So I hope that everyone enjoyed that. I'm so sorry I started coughing in the middle of that. Lesson number 1, make sure I have water handy. And lesson number 2, to go to the bathroom before I do this. So thank you all for joining. I'm so excited you guys were here. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back next week. A number of topics that I'm going to be talking about in these broadcasts. I think the next one I'm going to be doing is about unity and divisiveness and how to bring balance back to us. I'm going to be doing some meditation tips and tricks. Sorry. I'm also going to one day talk about fate and destiny and the difference, and can we change our fate? They'll probably bring in questions about karma as well. We're going to talk sometime about the triad of the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer, and where you fall on that triad. And I want to do something else called, well, in the way Holly taught it was called sand painting, but it's really an emotional clearing circle, and that's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to try and actually set this up so it's kind of a demo. So I might have to pull out a tripod and show you how to do a sand painting and how to clear some of the negative stuff that's going on in life. And it's a really cool process, very, very cool process, very helpful. I may also do a despacho. A despacho is what the Q'ero do, and many of the South American natives do. And it's basically about putting your intentions into a beautiful despacho, I guess. And so those are some things that I'm looking forward to doing. If there's anything particular you want me to talk about, by all means, leave something in the comments. And Lisa, thank you for being there. Pat, Kelly, anyone else who joined me, thank you so much for being here. Remember to like and subscribe down below. Push the little bell button or whatever you do with that button. Let me know that, and there is a like button. It's up in the corner. I can see it. It's right there. See? Right there. So make sure you do that. I'll be back at Sundays at 11 o'clock. And again, my Facebook page, Blue Rose Divine Healing. My Facebook page. My YouTube channel, of course. And my email, bluerosedivinehealing@gmail.com. If you have any questions or if you'd like a session with me, by all means, shoot me an email. If you've got questions or ideas for the next time, let me know. I'd love to get your input. And I'm so excited to have done this. And bye all. Thank you for being here.